Oh, hello, and happy Halloween, because we've made it. We've gotten through 31 days of the FrankenGames, the video series in which I played every single Frankenstein video game ever made, according to me, and after all my research. And this is the final day. This is the final video. It is Halloween. I don't know about you all, but I got my treats, my peeps, my unlicensed Frankenstein treats, which I'll just go ahead and take one now. Of course, it's all glued together, basically. But that'll do. So I'm all sugared up. And eating on video is probably not a great idea. But yeah, we're ready to go through, not play video games, because every previous video has been about playing the games. This final video is the wrap-up. This is me looking at, what have I learned? What have we, what has happened? What have I wrought in this video series? But before we go on, you've already been staring at this quote, but I'll go ahead and read it as I always do, because this is the final quote for the FrankenGames. And now, once again, I bid my hideous progeny go forth and prosper. I have an affection for it was the offspring of happy days, when death and grief were but words, which found no true echo in my heart. Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, 1831. And this is not a quote from the story of Frankenstein, or rather not from the narrative. This is a quote from the 1831 edition of the story, in which they included a new introduction by Mary Shelley herself. And yeah, this is her just kind of saying, hey, look, here's, after informing the reader of the process of how she created where Frankenstein came from, how she was inspired, etc., some history about herself. This is her kind of saying, like, look, I release it once again into the world, and I hope it prospers, because, she wrote other books, but Frankenstein, I think, was probably her biggest hit, I would guess. But yeah, here we go. Mary, in her own words, telling us, like, yeah, this is a thing meant to be, distributed throughout the world and prosper. I don't know if by prosper she meant money-wise, but I guess I'm always so focused on like that aspect of it, seeing as I look at licensed video games. It's just, yeah, it's ingrained. All right, well, there you go. That's our intro. Let's move along to what's next. So first we have a look at the creator. There's Mary Shelley herself in a portrait from the 1840s, I believe. This is a very famous author. I don't know why I keep feeling like I have to introduce Mary Shelley and what she's about and what she's done. Very famous, very well covered, tons of biographies, but we'll get into a few details about her life. Some more interesting tidbits. Her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, I keep jumbling over that name, was a famous feminist writer. She wrote about the place women should have in society, which is, an equal place in society. They should be able to work and learn and participate in the governance and the whole thing, just all of it. And this was at a time when women did not have those opportunities. They were suppressed, and they were only meant to be, wives and mothers, and maybe they worked at shops or something. But so yeah, her mother was a famous feminist writer, and that did influence Mary Shelley herself when she started writing and thinking about society. This one seems to be speculation from many scholars who like to think that Mary Shelley, who loved hanging out at her mother's grave, when she first started seeing Percy Shelley, her husband, they like to speculate that, there was nowhere else they could go to, have relations. So they feel like, yeah, she must have had sex for the first time on her mother's grave, like a flat tombstone type thing. So yeah, that's just something that's just out there about her. I don't know if it's scandalous, but there it is. She had, I think, 4 children, but only one of them survived. Percy Florence Shelley. This was her last child, her son, and he went on to live a long life. I think he lived into his 80s. But before that, it was just one grief after another, as she lost one child after another. So yeah, Mary Shelley had a very rough life. After writing Frankenstein, ironically, it's a very miserable book, but her life after that just got, she had a rough life for sure. Her husband, Percy Shelley, never took credit. He always credited Mary Shelley with the writing of the book, and the whole thing was hers. But because the first edition of the book was released with an anonymous author, because the publishers thought a woman should not be the credited author of such a scandalous, sensational book. But Percy Shelley did write the introduction, and people credited him with, I think partially because of that, they credited Frankenstein to him. They were like, oh, well, maybe he didn't want to put his name on it for some reason, but it must have been his, which is wrong. I think history has borne out that no, he may have been an inspiration, he may have been supportive of Mary Shelley when she was writing it, but it is Mary Shelley who was the author of the book. And finally, just to prove how goth Mary Shelley was, after her husband died, really young, in a boating accident, his heart was apparently calcified due to some medical condition where the heart literally hardens. So he died, and then she was given the heart, and she kept it wrapped in pages of his poetry at her desk. And they didn't find this till after she died. So yeah, super goth, super interesting quirk about Mary Shelley. I call this the critique, but I'm not really critiquing. I'm just listing out what I liked. So my critique here is I love these, and they made me as happy as the creature is here in this GIF from one of the movies. So it's 10. We're going to go from number 10 to my number 1 pick. Number 10 is Frankenstein's Monsters, Inc. This is one of those itch.io games. This is a game where I loved the simulation aspect where it proposes what if Victor Frankenstein is an entrepreneur? What if he makes a business out of creating monsters, digging up body parts, but also keeping the village cool, because the more creatures you create, the more angry the villagers get, and the more likely they are to kill you, and then it's game over. So I found the tension between all those different factors in the simulation to be really effective. I really enjoyed this game. I talked all about it in the video. You should check that out. You can check out the video where I talked about it for more chatter about it and gameplay footage. But yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out, and it's on itch.io. You can play it in a browser, so super easy. Then we get Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster, which honestly is here because of Tim Curry. This is a Tim Curry live action performance in a video game. I just hope Philip turn out better than the last experiment. Without Tim Curry, I don't know that I would have been as compelled to go back and play it, and certainly not to put it on this list. But because Tim Curry's in it, and it was compelling enough in terms of what was going on, that I thought yes, this is something that I would recommend and that I do intend to play again. Some games I could not finish during this time period that I had, but I very much intend to go back and replay some of these, or rather start some of these again to play all the way through. And this is certainly one of them because of Tim Curry. Yeah. Here we have Dr. Franken 2 for Game Boy. So this one, there were 3 Dr. Franken games, and I really felt compelled to both have a 2D platformer on my top 10, but also to have one of the Franken games, or Dr. Franken Games, not my video series called FrankenGames. And I chose this one. At first I thought I would choose the one for SNES because of Summer Frankenstein. That's the one where the creature is wearing sunglasses and board shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and he's ready to party, And that was an image I had in mind when I was first thinking about these games. Is I remembered seeing those screenshots for that game. But I think this one's better. I think this game starts you off in a castle, but then it really expands and lets you explore different aspects of this world. You can it's almost I won't call it a Metroidvania. It's probably not that, but there is an exploration aspect that I was impressed by. So this is a game I do intend to go back and play again. This game, Castle Frankenstein, this was I think on the BBC Micro computer, and I remember having a tough time with a bunch of those early text adventures, and this was basically the best one of those. This was the one where I liked that they had different contrast colors for the text. The parser was really good. That was a huge problem in a bunch of the games for me, was I could not figure out what the parser wanted of me. And it was super annoying. It just wasn't fun. But this game was fun. I was enjoying exploring the world. The descriptions were good enough that I could visualize each area, as I walked through in pure text form. And it was just, it was really impressive. I enjoyed it. It's certainly a game I want to go back and play again. I don't know how long it would take because those text adventures, you know how they are. But also, I think next time I'll just have a piece of paper. I'll actually map out my journey because that's how you're supposed to play these kinds of games. So yeah, definitely want to go back and play it. Escape from Frankenstein's Castle. This one was on PC, and I enjoyed this one because it has, first of all, it has a woman as the protagonist, who's trying to rescue, at least in the beginning, who's out to rescue her partner, who, I think this is the one where this couple's on a motorcycle and they crash. You wake up as this woman in the protagonist role, and then you're out there just trying to solve a mystery. It's one of those games where there's a mystery going on, and you're just trying to like figure your way through. And of course, it's a point and click game. And yeah, it was just, so the gameplay's straightforward because of that. It's just a point and click adventure, but it was compelling. I liked the aspect of like a ghost being in this house, kind of guiding you and having someone to talk to, I guess, was an interesting way to incorporate that ghost. It was like, yeah, this is your little chat buddy. You can, anytime you're not sure what to do, the ghost would kind of chime in. So yeah, I was impressed with it. I would go back and play it again. Or rather, I will go back and play it again. Return to Castle Frankenstein. This was another, I guess you'd call it an adventure game. Yes, it's an adventure game. Very short. It's one of the itch.io games from more recent years, so it is very short. It's free. It's not a game that's being sold. Well, maybe it is. I forget. Well, there will be a link. You can find out. But anyway, yes, this game was short and sweet, but I liked the visuals. I liked the presentation. The sense of like mystery. I certainly like that it's like an homage or callback to like the black and white movies, like the Universal movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s maybe. But it was just really well done. I was super impressed. Right up to the finale and the credits. It was a lot of fun. I guess the gameplay might be really simple, but I guess I appreciated that. It is short and sweet, and I liked that I could sort of get the full experience in one session, one pretty short session. So, but I liked it. So this one I did complete, but I would happily go back and play it again. All right, here we have Frankenstein's Assistant by Samantha Go, as you see here on their title screen. And this one's another one that's short and sweet, and visually, I guess, graphically very simple, and ultimately gameplay-wise even, it's very simple, but I still really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know, I should go back and check what else this developer's done, but I really just had fun with it. Like, it was a little, like, 1-bit pixel sort of style, and it was a very simple world to explore, but I enjoyed the premise, and I liked how it was presented and done, and I really enjoyed it. Like, again, it'll be linked, and I would totally recommend anybody go in and check it out, because it's another short and sweet one, but totally worth playing for sure. The Wanderer, Frankenstein's Creature. This is one where I'm glad they had the word Frankenstein in the title, because if it was just titled The Wanderer, I don't think I would have found it, and I would have been bummed. Well, I guess if I'd never known of it, I might not have been bummed, but it would have been a bummer, because this is it's a great game. It's one of those, there's no dialogue. It does represent the original story in an interesting way. It's not a horror game, even. Like, not that any of these games are horror. Some of them might be, but this one's certainly not. This one is just kind of proposes, like, what if you play as the creature and you're just discovering the world? Like, what was that experience like for the creature? I didn't play the full thing, but from what I saw, it's a very beautiful, painterly style. There's no one's throwing rocks, no one's attacking the creature. That might happen later in the story, I don't know, but the few areas that I saw were really just about exploring and discovering, and it was beautiful. And I want to go back and play it. Again, that's the main thing here. So yes, that's on my list for sure. Oh, this one, Frankenstein 2000. I played the ZX Spectrum version. I feel like most people, when you tell them this is a Frankenstein game and they see the gameplay, they'll be like, they won't see it. And truthfully, I guess this is the one that strains the concept of like this being a Frankenstein game to its limit, because the premise is you're a little UFO, right, inside of a body, going through different organs and stuff, And it could have been anybody, or rather, it could have been any corpse or any living thing. The Frankenstein aspect is very the idea is you're going through this creature. So I guess that is barely connected, but it's connected enough. I found the gameplay really fun. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And the Frankenstein connection is there because you're inside of Frankenstein. Could have been anybody. It is the creature, and it's totally enjoyable. I really want to go back and finish playing this one because, yeah, it's just one of those games that it's simple but super fun for sure. And finally, we get the Frankenstein Wars from Cubist Games. This one I did finish. I think I talked about it in that video. I fired it up, I played a little bit, and I knew right away that, especially because I could get this on my phone, that I was going to finish this game. And that's what I did. I put this game on my phone, and I played all the way through. So it is one of the few games I did finish all the way through. Well, especially, it's a longer game. I think it must have taken me, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours to play through, so not super long, but it was a longer experience than when I first played in my video. And I did get to play all the way through, and it's great. It's a text adventure, but it has a lot of, it does have gameplay in terms of that tracks your stats, tracks variables. You make important choices along the way that influence the story, influences who gets to live and die in the story as well, which is a major factor. Some characters that you start off with don't make it to the end, depending on, your choices. So, yeah, it's really fun. It's weird because it appears to not be compatible with current Android and iOS. I was able to sideload it basically onto my phone, my Android phone, and it still worked fine. So it'll work on Android. I've confirmed that. And if you can find it, it's totally worth checking out. Oh, and of course, you can also just sideload it using BlueStacks, the emulator for PC that lets you run Android apps and games. And that's how I played it as well. So, yeah, check it out. I think it's worth playing. And there you go. That's my number one. That's my top pick of the top 10. That's it. That's the end of this video. That's the end of my wrap up and my longer than expected look at the video games of Frankenstein and all the stuff that inspired it and led up to the video games. Or is it the end? Because, like I mentioned, there were some games I just decided to cut out, and I am really confident that somewhere there's at least one more Frankenstein video game that I simply did not find. Like it's a public domain work. Anybody could have taken this license at any time and made a game out of it. So I'm just really certain that I searched a bunch of different databases, but they missed at least one game. So if someday somebody pops up and says, "Hey, you missed this one Frankenstein game," I would totally believe them because there's just so many games. I looked at a bunch of games, but I'm pretty sure there would be a lot more out there. So yeah, there you go. But yes, that is the end. That might not be the end of the video game list, but that is the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. If you somehow watched all 31 of these videos, good job. Congratulations. And if you only watched this one, that's fine too. Thanks for watching this one. And that's the end of the whole series, really. Frankenstein. I lived with it for so long. Who am I? What do I do? I feel like I've been turned into some kind of creature myself, spending so much time in the head of all these characters and creatures and monsters. But I guess I'll have to find my way out of it somehow. But in any case, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. And until the next thing, whatever it is, I don't know. But until then, I'll see you.